Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path.
Today we'll be reading from Psalm 74. The title of the psalm says it's from Michelle of Asaph, which would put this during the period of David, King David. Although I can't help as I read it to think a little bit more, a little further down the line. And I wonder if maybe this designation at the top is really a class of psalmists, possibly descendants of Asaph, but maybe not. But anyways, you can't help reading this psalm and not taking your mind back to 586 when the Babylonians had sacked Israel and Judah, and there's this despondency, the continual oppression by an enemy, a wicked enemy, an enemy of God. And as I read it, I thought of that, and I also thought about the minor prophet Habakkuk, and he was talking about the same basic thing. How can God oppress his people with an enemy that is less righteous than the one that is being? And as you read that and you read the tone of this psalm and the tone of Habakkuk, it just rings to that era. So I wonder about the date of the writing. Irregardless, the psalm is for many seasons, I guess, if you will. It is also a classic example of a lament, a communal lament. So many of the psalms take the same form. We have the addressing of Jehovah, the lament itself, the confession of trust in Jehovah, the petition, and the response of praise at the very end. So let's read the psalm, and then I'll have a few comments at the end. O God, why hast thou cast us off forever? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? Remember thy congregation, which thou hast purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance, which thou hast redeemed, this mount, Zion, wherein thou hast dwelt. Lift up thy feet unto the perpetual desolations, even all that the enemy hath, done wickedly in the sanctuary. Thine enemies roar in the midst of thy congregations. They set up ensigns for signs. A man was famous according as he had lifted up axes upon the thick trees. But now they break down the carved work thereof at once with axes and hammers. They have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling place of thy name to the ground. They said in their hearts, let us destroy them together. They have burned up all the synagogues of God in the land. We see not our signs. There is no more any prophet, neither is there among us that knoweth how long. O God, how long shall the adversary reproach? Shall the enemy blaspheme thy name forever? Why withdrawest thou thy hand, even thy right hand? Pluck it out of thy bosom. For God is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. Thou didst divide the sea by thy strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces, and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. Thou didst cleave the fountain, and the floods thou driest up mighty rivers. The day is thine, the night is thine. Thou hast prepared light and the sun. Thou hast set all the borders of the earth. Thou hast made summer and winter. Remember this, that the enemy hath reproached, O Lord, and that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. O deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove unto the multitude of the wicked. Forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. Have respect unto the covenant. For the dark places of the earth are full of the habitation of cruelty. O let not the oppressed return ashamed, and let the poor and needy praise thy name. Arise, O God, plead thine own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. Forget not the voice of thine enemies. The tumult of those who rise against thee increaseth continually. And as we said before, this is a lament, a communal lament for Israel. No matter what age you would put it, David went through many difficult times with the nation. Or whether you take the thought, as I do, that it had to do or would be placed in the time when 586, when the temple was destroyed, and Israel found themselves in bondage to Babylon. But let's look at what it actually says. When we look at the addressing of Jehovah in verses 1 through 2, we have the question, "O God, and why? Why are these things happening? Will it go on forever? Will you cast off your people Israel forever?" And then the lament. What is the current situation? The lament. Our enemy is wicked, but he is your enemy, God. We are not getting prophecies anymore. The voice of the Lord has dried up. How much longer? Why have you withdrawn your hand from us? All these questions are raised by a people in oppression. Then we come to the third part, which is confession and trust. Even though we have questions and we are suffering, we still state as people of God that we trust you. We give you that confession of trust. We have confidence that you will hear our needs in this great and dark time. And then the petition. Remember those foolish people that have oppressed us. Punish them, Lord. Do not deliver and do not deliver them. Punish them with thy great might. Also, dear Lord, he talks a little bit about the turtle dove. This is language for the weakness of Israel and for the people. Also speaks to their great love that God has for them. They are called out people. They are special to him. And so we see that. Also consider the covenant is brought up. The covenant that was made with Abraham. That from this seed there would be a great nation formed from his seed. And that they would bless the earth and that they would possess land. Remember this, Lord. Remember this covenant. And then the admonition to arise. Arise and do something, for we know you can. We know you have the power to do it. After all, you set the bounds of the sea. You created the seasons and all the things that we love in life. And then finally, to close the deal, we praise you. You have done wondrous things for us. We ask you to arise one more time and to deliver us from this oppression. And then there's the promise of doing better in the future. And so we show hope by raising praise to you, dear Lord.